Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Batter's Box here on 88.7 FM WRHU. I'm Chris Linney, and alongside me today is a lead sports anchor for ABC10 Sacramento, Kevin John. Kevin, it's a real pleasure having you on the show today.
Well, Chris, it is a pleasure to be on your show today. Thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy talking to you, and I always enjoy talking sports, so it's two of my favorite things to do in this world. So thanks for having me.
All right. So the Oakland A's have spent the last 56 years playing at the Oakland Coliseum. And this past April, they announced that they will not be renewing the lease of the Coliseum and they will move to Sacramento temporarily before moving full time to Las Vegas. So far this season, the A's sit in dead last in the AL West with a record of 34-58. So since Sacramento already has a minor league baseball team, the Sacramento River Cats, how excited is the city about housing a Major League Baseball team for the next 3 or so years?
Well, I'll have to tell you, it was met with a bittersweet response, a lukewarm response. Keep in mind, you do have a lot of Oakland A's fans in the Sacramento area. So, of course, it's always exciting to know Major League Baseball is going to be in your city. I mean, there's nothing about that would depress a Major League Baseball fan, shall I say. When you think about everything that's going to bring to the city as far as revenue, the economical standpoint, and all of that. But when you look at it for what it's worth, yes, I mean, are some people thrilled, or shall I say, are not thrilled that the A's are coming here? Of course. You got to realize this is an organization that has some of the most loyal and faithful fans who have stuck with them when John Fisher was running this organization and continues to run this organization into the ground. So this fan base has really had to suffer with this owner for the last however many years. So you got to realize a lot of these fans were not thrilled per se that Sacramento was kind of bailing them out. Because keep in mind, their proposed stadium in Las Vegas is not supposed to be ready, I believe, until the 2028 season. So they were going to be homeless in the interim until that stadium was erected in Las Vegas. A lot of people who are upset that Sacramento was like, well, here, let me give you a hand and let me bail you out to totally screw over the fans of Oakland who are not going to be able to have their baseball team there. So some people looked at Sacramento as aiding John Fisher and aiding this team in the interim until they can build their new stadium. So you have some people that emphatically and passionately were not happy about this temporary move to Sacramento as a result that it's going to bail out this franchise and bail out this organization who has done nothing positive for their fans over the last X amount of years. So while it's exciting to have professional baseball here in Sacramento, I'm not going to lie to you, Chris. I think it's very exciting to have Major League Baseball here. You also have to understand that there's fans who feel otherwise as a result of you basically bailing out a owner who is all but took a dump on the fans over the last several amount of years.
What are some of the pros about the move and how much revenue will they generate for the city of Sacramento?
Well, anytime you have a professional sports team in your city, that's always going to bring in revenue. When you think about hotels, when you think about restaurants, when you think about merchandise, when you think about everything that a professional team brings to a city economically, it's outstanding. It's fantastic because that's going to help out Sacramento, specifically West Sacramento, Yolo County, and even Sacramento itself, because I'm assuming most of the opposing teams are going to stay in Sacramento, probably downtown Sacramento, somewhere in that area. So you're going to bring in a ton of revenue. And then also when you look at the employees, the people who work for these teams, like you mentioned earlier, the Sacramento River Cats obviously do play there. And I think we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but think about how many jobs that's going to bring the city of Sacramento. Now, with that being said, it's unfortunate because there's a lot of people who work for Oakland who have been laid off and whose jobs will not carry on out here to Sacramento. So you definitely do feel for those individuals. But economically speaking, of course, it's going to be exciting for the city of Sacramento with everything that a professional sports team brings.
Since Oakland is a 2 hour drive from Sacramento, about a 2 hour drive, do you anticipate an influx of fans for home games?
Absolutely. And I say that two different ways. One, you are going to have your Oakland A's fans who aren't going to make the 2 hour or the hour drive down 80 to come out here. But then you also have to think about the fans in that can now have an easy drive coming up here from Stockton or Lodi or Galt, or even in Placer County, Roseville, some of those areas that where you have A's fans as well. It's a lot shorter drive to come to Sacramento to see it versus for all of those people to drive way out to Oakland or the Bay Area to see the Oakland A's. So sure, yes, you're going to get a lot of influx of fans from the overall area, 916-209-530, and people who live in that area who just have to, drive 20 minutes or 30 minutes to see A's baseball. Are you going to see a lot of Oakland A's fans making the trip out here? I think that's yet to be determined. Obviously, you're still going to have diehard A's fans who are going to follow the team wherever they go, but I don't necessarily think that you're going to see all of Oakland A's fans making the trip out here. I definitely would be shocked to see something like that, especially when Oakland A's fans aren't even filling the Coliseum right now to see the Oakland A's play, which is obviously for other reasons, but still, I think that will have an effect as well.
Now that we talked about some of the pros, what are some of the cons about this move, and are there some uncertainties about it?
I think the biggest con that goes off the top of my head right now that I'm thinking about is the amount of traffic. The Savannah Bananas, familiar with them, right? Really
Yeah.
exciting baseball team. They're known for their TikTok videos, very, Harlem Globetrotters. They were out here for 3 days, Chris, just what, about a month ago or month and a half ago. The traffic to get in to Sutter Health Park and out was nightmarish. Our stadium is located about a mile and a half away from Sutter Health Park. It took me 45 minutes to get from our station to Sutter Health Park, which is a mile, to see the Savannah Bananas play. Okay. Now, granted, Savannah Bananas, they do sell out, but it is going to be a logistical nightmare, especially when the Oakland A's play teams like the New York Yankees, when they play teams like the Los Angeles Dodgers, when they play teams who have really rabid fan bases who are going to fill that stadium. It's going to be a logistical nightmare. And I think, of anything, the Savannah Bananas during that weekend kind of gave us an idea on how crazy and how much of a logistical challenge it's going to be having a professional baseball team there, especially when they play 81 home games out of the whole year. So yes, I do. I think the biggest con is just going to be the traffic jams, the congestion, because people don't like to sit in traffic already. And the parking, that's a whole other thing. There's not a whole, there's a parking spot, a parking lot, shall I say, in front of Sutter Health, but a lot of people are probably going to have to do ride sharing to get there. So logistically, I personally think it's going to be a nightmare. And I think that's something that they're going to have to work out. The city of West Sacramento is, how are they going to funnel in 14,000, 15,000 plus fans 81 days out of the year, to that stadium. Now, granted, obviously every game's not going to be a sellout, but still. So I would say that's probably the biggest con, is just the logistical nightmare that it's going to present.
How will the A's coming to Sacramento impact the River Cats, and how will both teams be able to share the same space?
Well, that's going to be logistical nightmare part 2. And the reason I say that is, obviously, with the minor league, AAA minor league, they play 72 home games or 73 home, somewhere in there in the low 70s. And then with the major league team, they have 162 games. So 81 of those games are at home. So you're looking at, my math is not the best, 150 plus home games every day of the year. Sutter Health Park will be used. The problem is, they're now talking about putting artificial turf on there. Artificial turf, because I guess with the grass, they're not going to be able to keep up with the maintenance every day. Especially, there's going to be some games that are double headers, with the River Cats playing early, the A's playing late. So that's a lot of wear and tear on a field. So the idea is to bring in artificial turf to keep it a little more easier to maintain. The problem with that, it gets, I don't know if you know, Chris, but in the middle of summer in Sacramento, you don't know the difference between Las Vegas, Phoenix, Death Valley, as hot as it gets out here. So you're going to have that heat on artificial turf, which is going to be just horrific, shall I say, for the players, because, as you know, artificial turf, it absorbs heat. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge to have both of those teams here, with the wear and tear on the field, the wear and tear on the clubhouses, the dugouts. all of those other things that go to it. Also with the MLB club, typically you have dugouts that connect from the dugout to the clubhouse. With most minor league ballparks, you don't have that. So, the fact if they're going to be able, because there's a lot of renovations that have to be done at Sutter Health in order to for the park to be up to standard to MLB. So there's a lot of things that have to be done and a lot of changes. And then throw on the top of that you're going to have two teams sharing this for 150 plus days. The field's not going to be able to get any sleep, and the staffs aren't really. But like I said, if there's any good news in all of that, yeah, that's a lot of jobs that will be created for that. But two teams sharing the field is not going to be an easy task at all. And I'm sure MLB and AAA, all the officials at Sutter Health, that's their problem to worry about, not mine. But it'll be interesting to see how it all works out.
All right. Now, is there anything else you would like to add?
I think that it's great that Sacramento fans will have an opportunity, because this is the one thing I want to say. Sacramento has some of the most diehard fans out there. Like I just mentioned to you, we just came from DeMar DeRozan's press conference, who was introduced as the newest Sacramento King earlier today. The one thing that he kept talking about over and over was the fandom here in Sacramento and everything that comes with it. And I think that's the one thing that's unanimous. If you go anywhere and talk to anyone in Sacramento, the fans here are like no other. You don't even have to give us a good product. They're going to come out and support it. Now, of course, we want a good product because everyone wants to cheer for a great product. But at the end of the day, Sacramento are some of the most loyal fans, diehard fans, dedicated fans, patient fans. And I don't think there's any better place to build a professional sports team. And if there's any expansion sports teams thinking of coming here, absolutely. You're never going to get fans like this who will stick with you and persevere with you through the end. I'm from Stockton, so, obviously it's a little bit different down there. But from living in Sacramento the last 5 years since I've worked at this station, there's nothing like it. And any team that comes to Sacramento is in for a treat.
All right. Now, that is all the time we have for today. Alongside Kevin John, I'm Chris Linney. Now let's send it back to our hosts in the WRHU studios for some more baseball extravaganza on the batter's box, only here on 88.7 FM, WRHU.